Today, I'm going to talk about why you shovel down food when you're binge eating. It has nothing to do with liking it or pleasure. I was thinking of this the other day because I found myself doing it. I found myself eating something really tasty, really fast. And I wasn't binging, but I just scarfed it down to the point where I barely even tasted it. And I thought, what's that about? What's that doing for me? And I know in my research and in my studies, food creates a state change. Food shapeshifts us. It changes our biochemistry, it changes our hormonal response, it changes our neurotransmission, which means our brains, our mood, how we feel, how we even perceive ourselves in the world around us changes within minutes based on what we're eating. Processed foods are refined foods, which means they are potent foods. So eating a bowl of brown rice is very different from eating a bowl of rice chips. This more potent processed food has a faster, bigger hormonal response in our bodies. It releases chemicals from what I refer to as the inner pharmacy. Our bodies have an inner pharmacy, a storage of all these different chemical compounds that change the way we feel and think. We have opioids that get released. We have serotonin that can be dumped. We have dopamine that can be released. We have so many different compounds at hand to help us feel different and get through life. And this is why food addiction exists. When we are in a situation, especially as young people, and we don't have a lot of agency to change the situation, or you're an adult and you work two jobs and you're very overwhelmed and live in stressful circumstances, the one thing you can change is your state, and you can change that by eating, and you can change it really rapidly. So when we eat processed foods and we eat them really fast and we barely even taste them, it's not because we want the food or the pleasure or the joy of eating it and tasting it. It's because we're subconsciously looking for a state change. So when a lot of food comes in at once, it creates that response in our body that starts shifting how we feel, how we live, how we experience the world around us by releasing these chemical compounds from our inner pharmacy. So I want to give you a little practice to do. What need is the food meeting? And what's the state change I'm looking for? What's the sensation I'm going after? Not in the eating of the food, but what happens after I eat it. So I'm going to give you a little practice right now to do next time you find yourself craving something. And then especially if you find yourself craving something you tend to scarf down and eat a lot of, I want you to try this practice. So step one, pause and put a pillow over your stomach and give it a hug and just notice what state you're in right now. And what I mean by that is, do you feel activation? Do you feel stressed? Do you feel tense? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel open? Do you feel happy? Do you kind of feel numb? Do you feel nothing at all? Do you feel like you're floating above yourself, not quite in your body? You want to first identify that so you can understand what state is even driving me to want this food. And then go enjoy the food, go have the snack, whatever you're eating, and then set an alarm at about 15 to 30 minutes later after you eat it. Put a pillow over your belly again, give it a hug, and track your state. Are you excited? Do you feel alive? Do you feel tired? Do you feel exhausted? Do you feel comforted? Do you feel loved? Do you feel pleasure? What's the state your body is now in that's different from how it was 30 minutes ago? This is what this particular food or snack is giving you. And you want to identify that because the addiction isn't to the food usually. It's to the state that the food creates and provides. And that state is how we renegotiate our lives. Because when I'm depressed and I can't get through the day and I can't think and I can't feel motivated, I'm going to be attracted to certain foods that create much more activation in my system. They change my state into being more hyper-aroused and alert and focused. On the other hand, if I'm super anxious, can't fall asleep at night, can't stop all the thoughts racing in my mind and I'm overwhelmed, I'm going to be attracted to foods that comfort me, that slow me down, that soften that state, that shift me into another state or physiology. When we understand food through this lens, we start to understand something much more important than dieting. We understand the root cause, what propels us toward these foods in the first place, and it's the state we're in. We haven't learned how to just connect to it without the food, so we require the food to connect to it for us and change it for us. This is a big part of my work, combining somatic experiencing with nutrition to create food therapy. Therapy through the lens of what you're eating, how your food affects your thoughts, your identity, and even the way you relate to people, places, and yourself. When you start to understand this animal body you live in and all the things that motivates it to eat certain things and eat certain ways, you start to release your shame and get much more closer to what's really driving this. And then you're just one step away from learning how to relate to that place yourself and in other ways other than food. And by broadening your options, you don't have the narrow dependency just on food, and therefore you start to release some addiction and dependency on food in general. I'm planning a webinar and a mini course followed by an entire 6-month group that teaches all of this later this year. If you want more information about it, click on the link below and sign up on my newsletter, or go to groups and click on Embodied Nutrition for more information. Thank you for watching today's episode. Please like and subscribe if you found it useful, and let me know in the comments what you want me to cover next. Stress and trauma happen in the body, so we need to go inside the body in order to recover from it. I'm Luis Mojica, somatic therapist, nutritionist, and trauma educator. My 7-week course is going to teach you how to use nutrition, somatics, and embodied parts work in order to recover from stress and trauma. My virtual course is 100% live, taught by me and my team, and it's a lot like a retreat, because we're not just teaching you things, we're interacting. We're practicing, we're engaging in sound healings, and we're there for you through one-on-one support throughout the entire 7 weeks. My team is a huge part of this support system to help make sure you are integrating and practicing this work and having all the support you need to get through the 7 weeks. Camille Leek is our community manager and co-teacher. Evan Glenn Adams is our resident sound healer, who will be doing a live sound healing every week. Marika Malaya is there for co-regulation, somatic practices, and support throughout the 7 weeks as well. Week 1 of my course is all about the biology of stress and trauma, meaning what's actually happening inside of you when you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious. Week 2 teaches you trauma-informed nutrition, which essentially means how food affects your adrenals, your blood sugar, and your nervous system, including your brain and your mood.
One of the things that was really profound came in week 2 with the shift in diet, not only in terms of noticing a real shift in my energy levels, but also in my gut health.
Week 3 helps you explore how your body experiences your relationships, the people around you, the places you go to, even where you live. Week 4 is integration week, which is a lovely week to spread out, settle in, and integrate everything you've learned from the prior 3 weeks. I'll host a Q&A session, an integration session, and a sound healing that week.
Being in community with people from all over the world feels incredibly beautiful during these divisive times.
These practices are very simple, and yet they seem to have a really profound effect.
Week 5 is the beginning of how you relate to yourself. How do your thoughts show up in your body? How do you relate to your thoughts and your ideas of yourself? This is a really important piece of embodied parts work, so you can learn how to hold these different parts in you instead of letting them rule you and your decisions.
If we hadn't worked with Luis, we would probably be on the verge of breaking up, or, we wouldn't be living together anymore. Yeah,
this video wouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Week 6 is all about meaning making. What story do you tell based on experiences you've had? And what does your body expect is going to happen again? Week 7, our final week of the course, is all about activation. It's about your relationship to the big, inconvenient, even uncomfortable sensations that emerge due to life circumstances and past experiences.
Luis's ability to kind of lead students through the work in a safe space, earn trust, and oftentimes kind of reach a resolution on the spot. It's pretty incredible.
I hope you join us because we would love to support you in learning, practicing, and integrating this work into your life.
Getting there, it was just, I could tell something special was about to happen.
There's just something about in-person retreats that just doesn't compare to online space.
Minla is outstandingly beautiful. Why not be there with Luis and his team?
My my body knew that something intense was going to happen in the most beautiful way.
It was all about getting what each and every one of us needed and what the community needed.
My biggest takeaway is that I got introduced to myself.
We're just a bunch of misfits trying to find community with one another, and that's where my heart just blasted open because I felt like seen, and yeah, it was beautiful. I loved it.